Okay, in the last two lessons, we took a look at the two different plans for Reconstruction, the presidential Reconstruction and congressional Reconstruction. In this lesson, we want to take a look at the third plan for Reconstruction, or how Reconstruction was actually carried out in the South itself, and that would be the plan known as military Reconstruction. Now, those first two plans, presidential Reconstruction and congressional Reconstruction, were meant to bring the Southern governments back to the Union. They were meant to have a plan in order to make the Congress whole again. Military Reconstruction doesn't deal with the political aspect of it, but it actually deals with the physical work of Reconstruction, both social Reconstruction and economic Reconstruction. The Military Reconstruction Act was passed in March of 1867, and what it did was it divided up the South into 5 military districts. And each of those districts would be commanded by a Union general, and each of those districts would have about 20,000 Union troops controlling Reconstruction in the South. One of the things that states needed to do in order to come back into the Union, according to Congress, was to pass the 14th Amendment, and they had to guarantee in their state constitution full suffrage for blacks. When they did this, then those military troops would be removed, and the government could continue to progress. Military Reconstruction stopped the process of giving the 40 acres and a mule and giving freedmen land or an education at federal expense. And by 1868, military Reconstruction is going to be over in all but the 3 southern states that refused to put those provisions into their constitution. And so we have the military who's actually doing the physical work of Reconstruction in the South. They're the ones keeping order. They're the ones who are going to be rebuilding railroads and things like that. And so it's that process of military Reconstruction that's actually the boots on the ground. Here's who's going to actually carry out Congress's laws during this time. The 15th Amendment is passed by Congress in 1869. It's ratified in 1870 during Grant's presidency. And the purpose of the 15th Amendment was to try and guarantee the right to vote to African American males. The problem is that this law isn't written specific enough in order to prevent a lot of the abuses that are going on. And we've talked about how blacks were prevented from voting by means of literacy tests, grandfather clauses, poll taxes, all those kinds of things. And none of those are addressed in the 15th Amendment. And so once the process of Reconstruction ends and those military troops are removed, it's now up to the Southern governments to enforce the laws themselves. And they essentially refuse to carry out the laws that were meant to occur. They instead try to go with the bare minimum that can be done. And with no one there to stop them, the bare minimum was often to exclude almost all, if not all, of the black male voters. Now, Reconstruction comes to a very definitive end in 1877. We have the election of 1876, which has Samuel Tilden against Rutherford Hayes. And Rutherford Hayes, I think both of them were from Ohio, actually. I could be wrong about that, but I know Rutherford B. Hayes was from Ohio. Rutherford B. Hayes from Ohio is the Republican running for president. And the Southern Democrats are actually able to get enough votes, now that Reconstruction has ended in most states, they're actually able to get enough votes in order to get a Democrat elected to the presidency. When this race is too close to call, and that some states end up submitting 2 sets of electors to the Electoral College, this throws the whole system into chaos. The Constitution says that if nobody gets a majority, then Congress, the House of Representatives, is able to decide the presidency. The problem wasn't that nobody got a majority, though. The problem is that there were too many voters, and the Constitution didn't talk about that at all. And so we have a presidential commission that's formed in 1876 to decide what to do. And what they come up with is the Compromise of 1877. Essentially, the compromise is this. Rutherford B. Hayes, a Northern Republican, will be allowed to take the presidency. He may not have won it, but we're going to give it to him. And in exchange for giving them the presidency at this time, we're going to remove the last of those troops, and we are going to end this process of Reconstruction, and those southern states are going to be allowed to govern themselves again. The Republicans get something very short term, and they give up on the process of Reconstruction at this time because the economy suffers this deep decline. And Northerners were really not concerned about having the rights of blacks cared for at this point when they couldn't find jobs themselves. And so those economic concerns end up taking precedent over the civil rights violations that are going on in the South. And so that's why the Republicans were essentially willing to give up on Reconstruction at the time. And so what we'll see during this time is a very over the next few decades is a very strong Congress and a very weak presidency. We'll have a lot of what are known as the do-nothing presidents or the know-nothing presidents that end up coming through the White House. Nobody lasts very long. None of them do anything very significant. And it will be controlled by the Congress. And since it's controlled by the Congress, it's going to be controlled by business. And this is how we get into the Gilded Age. And so we will see you in the next lesson.